back. I am D.G. Hamblin, and we are feasting on the Word. And today, I have something for you which I find really interesting. It's a little small something, and I just want to kind of preface this by saying, first of all, this does come from this week's Come Follow Me study, which was Mosiah 18 through 24, I believe. But I don't really have a desire to do Come Follow Me lessons. At one time I thought I did. There are so many people, though, who do a really good job, better than I am. There are organizations that have more resources and lots of scholars, and they do a really good job. So I don't want to get caught up in that mix. What I want to do, or what I try to do, is at times show you things that I find, and maybe along the way teach you a little bit about how I study. I spent 22 years in law enforcement. I spent a good portion of that as an investigator. And the investigative skills which I learned and developed and got pretty good at, I turned to the scriptures because I'm able to find details and things that I used to just read over and overlook. And one of the things that I do is I question everything. What does this mean? Both from a big picture, but also down to the smallest details. Yeah, in a criminal case, as I'm developing a criminal case, I want to make sure I get all the tiny details right, that I know what everything means. Same here in Scripture. Okay, enough of that. So, I'm reading along in Mosiah 18. And Alma is teaching in private. And as he teaches people and they start to believe him, they begin to gather at a place. And so he tells us in verse 4 of chapter 18. And it came to pass that as many as did believe him did go forth to a place which was called Mormon. Now, this is the first time we see that word here in the text, and he's going to give an explanation about this word Mormon. So you might ask yourself, why would he take the time to give us this explanation? Well, I'm sure people wondered, what did that mean? Why this name? Where did it come from? And so he tells us, okay, I might be wrong on all this. I think I'm right, but I kind of expect to be wrong, because if I'm convinced I'm 100% right on everything, then that closes my mind off to other possibilities. So I try not to be so arrogant or prideful that I believe that I'm 100% right. I might be wrong, but I might be right. And it's cool. This place called Mormon. So now he's going to give us an explanation as to why it's called Mormon, having received its name from the king. Now he doesn't say which king, possibly King Noah, maybe Zeniff, we don't know. But nevertheless, the king named it, so therefore this is the name which everybody in that land, everybody under the rule of this king, called this place. Now, why did he call it Mormon? Well, being in the borders of the land, having been infested by times or at seasons by wild beasts. So there's the explanation for why the king named it Mormon. Does that tell us exactly what Mormon means? No, but we can narrow this down. So what I did is I went to my Strong's Exhaustive Concordance of the Bible, and I have it as an app, which makes looking things up much easier and quicker than flipping back and forth through the book, which is this giant book. Okay, so I begin to look up what some of these words or instances of these words. Now, Strong's Concordance does not have the Book of Mormon in it. This is from the Bible. But there is a lot of Hebrew, a lot of biblical Hebrew, and you may find me from time to time referencing it because I have found a way that I can use my Strong's Concordance to find meaning of things in the Book of Mormon. So I look for words that we have in the Book of Mormon that are also in the Bible, and what's the Hebrew word and meaning. Okay. So I start looking up in Strong's. Okay, are there instances of the word borders? And yes, there are instances of the word borders, and I looked those up, and I don't find anything that might relate to this word Mormon. So I go on. The borders of the land. No, again, nothing that relates to Mormon. Infested. Well, maybe it's infested. No, it's not infested. But what about wild beasts? No, I found nothing for wild beasts. But times and seasons, I did find something. Now, why would it be times and seasons? Well, let's think about this for a minute logically. If it was related to the word borders alone, then why would he feel it necessary to include that there were wild beasts there who came and went at different times of the year? He wouldn't have to. And the same with land. Also, if it was wild beasts that the name Mormon was related to, well, then you could say he named it, after these wild beasts that were in this land over here. It wouldn't require him to put in there these times and seasons, but so we have the land and the borders because that's the place that was named, and we have the wild beasts because these are the animals coming and going at times and seasons. Again, if it was just the beasts, it wouldn't matter that they came and went, right? But what matters is that these animals are coming and going. They are migrating back and forth. And so the first scripture in the Bible that came to my mind, even before I looked up in my Strong's Concordance, was from Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes 3:1. To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heavens. So I looked that up, and when I looked it up, did I find something? I did. I found a word, Zaman. That doesn't sound like Mormon. Well, except for the last half of that word kind of does. Zaman, Mormon. And it's the transliteration into our alphabet, or into English, would be Zeman. The E is written super tiny. That means that you almost don't pronounce it. So you just kind of go Zaman. Not like zebra. More like just the E is almost not there. Not that matters. Okay. And that came from in Ecclesiastes 3:1, not from time, but from the word season. Okay, let me say this too. There are lots of Hebrew words which are translated either as time or as season. There's a bunch of them. Okay. Does that strengthen my case? Probably not really. But out of this bunch, I found a couple. Okay. And this word Zaman is found in multiple places in the Old Testament. So then there's another word which we find translated as season. It's also translated as times a couple of times. And so in fact, it's usually translated as seasons, meaning an appointed, irregular, reoccurring event. But it is it's found in Jeremiah 8:7 and Daniel 12:7, and you might be familiar with Daniel 12:7. This is in Daniel 12, he's talking about the last days, and I won't read all of verse 7, but I swear by him that liveth forever that it shall be for a time, times, and a half. And the Hebrew word moed, which we would transliterate M-O-E-D, is translated there as times. So we have times, moed, and seasons, zaman. So what I think the king did is he takes those two words and he kind of puts them together. Now Hebrew also uses infixes. My Hebrew is not great. I know less than that. I know a teeny tiny bit about Hebrew. I use references for Hebrew all the time because I don't know. I do know that Hebrew uses infixes. What's an infix? Well, it's like a prefix to a word or a suffix, but it's stuck in the middle. And the R or the resh, from what I understand, from what I could tell in my little bit of searching, is that R is an infix, can be used as an infix, but I couldn't find anything that would tell me what it meant. So it could be that the R is stuck in there as an infix. It could be that maybe just the way they pronounced the word when they stuck it all together, Mormon, it just kind of became Mormon. And so I believe that this word means times and seasons. Again, I could be wrong, but that's what I think it means. And I think that's pretty cool, because if Joseph Smith knew what it meant, does that give a little bit of extra meaning or depth or perspective on why he decided to name his newspaper The Times and Seasons? Perhaps. Maybe because it was intended for our church community, which outsiders were already referring to as Mormons. Maybe because at this place, Mormon, this Times and Seasons place, the people were gathering to come and hear the word from Alma. And so he's using this Times and Seasons paper to disseminate information to the community. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I think I'm right. Tell me what you think. I love y'all. I hope that you can have or will develop and learn a method of study for the scriptures that will just make you fall in love with them and want to spend more and more time in them, feasting on them, not just having a taste here and there. I love y'all. Thanks for putting up with me for a few minutes. I hope to see you again soon. And until then, take care.